You are now listening to the Dual Position Podcast.
The boys are back to talk all things Supercoach all season long.
Please welcome your hosts, Whisperer and Brew.
Hello one, hello all. Welcome to the Dual Position Podcast. I am your host, the SC Whisperer, coming off the back of a pretty tumultuous week. We were very happy to go the early crow when Tedesco faltered. It was very, very close to captaining Munster. I missed the lockout by a couple of seconds. We were stuck with the orange armband on Cleary, which explains the dip in rank. We're down to 237th. Not awful, not great. We're down 50 spots, however. But yeah, man, Cleary the talking point. Done for the Supercoach season. It's brutal. Brew, coach of the Brew World Order, did you unluckily put the C on him as well?
No, I captained Munster, so my side's just shit, so our scores were pretty similar, but no, I avoided that one.
I wish I avoided it. I was very tempted to captain Munster, and I finally pulled the trigger with about 30, or what I thought was 30 seconds left on the deadline clock on the Supercoach app, or on the website, and then it said he was locked, so I was like, oh, we'll just ride it out, and then he got 65 odd, and I was like, okay, cool, so Cleary will be sweet. Cleary was on about 30 points after about 5 minutes, which was fantastic. Try assist to Sean O'Sullivan. And then, pile drove Dylan Brown's head into the turf. Sent off, not ideal, 4 points. I think we ended up with 1,120, which isn't awful, not great, but a few flops. Ronaldo Mulatalo really starting to test my patience. I don't know about you.
I don't own him.
Really, really starting to annoy me.
Yeah, he's it's weird. Look, I took Katoa over him, and Katoa was easily actually winning that battle, but I thought Mulatalo might finish the season stronger and burn me, but at the moment his base is in the toilet, so he's not getting the pies, and his scores are kind of putrid.
Got a great pie on the weekend. Only worth 17 points though. No line break was a spectacular catch for us. Just the beauty of Supercoach. Hey, team list just dropped. There's a little bit to get through for the Roosters. Butcher and Collins are out, both out. Carrigan also out, fighting, the charge he's got after the tackle on Jackson Hastings, so he is out. Cobbo comes back into the Broncos side, which would be a huge inclusion for them. I think they've really missed someone like Cobbo on the edge there. Olam and Nick Meaney are out. Grant Anderson is in the centres. Tyrant Wishart at fullback. David Norfoluma on the wing. And look, as a Tigers fan, sucks to see him go, but, is what it is. They do get Xavier Coates back on the extended bench, so you'd think if Coates passes the captain's run, he'll be straight in for, you'd think, Marion Seve, and there might be some reshuffling, or even, someone like Wishart might drop out and Anderson goes back to fullback. That could be on the cards. For the Parramatta Eels, Mitch Moses out, Jake Arthur halfback. The Manly 7, they're back in for the Seagulls. Ewan Aiken, some Supercoach relevant news here. He is back at centre, so if I was an owner of Ewan Aiken still, I'd be moving him on. His score at centre is nowhere near what it is at the back row. Stephen Crichton is back with Nathan Cleary obviously out. Jamin Salmon at the 6, Sean O'Sullivan at the 7. Thought they may have given Kurt Falls another crack, but it looks like they've gone with Salmon there.
Falls is injured.
Oh, Falls injured. Thank you very much. Yep. Will Kennedy is out. I thought Lockie Miller would have got a crack at fullback, but however, they've gone with Dykes, who I don't know a whole lot about, so I can't really comment on that. For the Cowboys, Kyle Felt is out. Ruben Cotter is officially named on the bench. Came in last week, but officially named on the bench this week. For the Tigers, Jackson Hastings is out. Pole at 13. Joe Offahengawi at 10. And David Clemmer stood down for telling a trainer to, stick it where the sun don't shine because he didn't want to come off the field. Cracking stuff.
All because he's potentially going to the Eels. Who knows what's going on there? But yeah, when you're a side like the Newcastle Knights are at the moment, I don't really think you can afford to drop David Clemmer, but oh well. If
you're a side like the Newcastle Knights, I don't know why David Clemmer would want to stay on the park any longer than what he have to.
That is a very fair point.
A fair bit of team list Tuesday news there. I think the few big ones are probably the Melbourne reshuffle, to be honest. Coates on the extended bench will be interesting to see what Craig Bellamy does. It'll be interesting to see who drops out, because obviously you've got Olam that's out for this week. You've got Meaney, who could be out for a couple of weeks, and you're relying on Anderson, Marion Seve, Dean Aramea. You obviously got Coates there in the wings. It'll be very interesting to see where he slots back in. Do you think that they get him back this week, or do you think that he just they get him primed for finals footy?
The commentators hinted at it last week that he'd be ready this week, and now he is on that extended bench. So I think he'll play. It's just a matter of where he plays. I don't know if they get a lot. I'm not trying to put a knock on Wishart. He's been Mr. Fix-It this year. He's played in pretty much every position by the front row. for them, I don't think he's fullback, and I think they need that link man. And I don't know who that person will be and who they put back there, but I don't think he's the guy. So I do think Coates will come back in. I wouldn't be surprised to see him in the one.
Another really interesting thing here is the Roosters bench. Connor Watson at 14, Ben Thomas at 15, Drew Hutchins at 16, and Terrell May at 17. So pretty light there in, I would say, the middles, unless Connor Watson's going to be playing some big minutes with Victor, like pairing with Victor Radley, because normally comes in, spells Victor, but that bench seems pretty light. Not too sure if Trent Robinson wants to get more out of Matt Lodge and Jared Hargraves, but yeah, that's an interesting dynamic as well. Angus Crichton and Nat Butcher just still look to be locked in for 80 minutes there on the edges.
Yeah, I'd say they are on the edges. I'm not sure. Like Ben Thomas, he's predominantly, in the front row, and Hutch is a big dude, but I wouldn't be playing him in the forwards.
And is Terrell May still
obviously?
Terrell May still quite raw. I wouldn't want to be giving Terrell May 35, 40 minutes off the bench.
No, I don't know if he's ready for that at the top level. So wow, that's interesting. I skimmed over it and I didn't even pay attention.
Yeah, to that fact. Something worth noting there. This week, I don't really want to go into buys and sells because we're getting to the stage now in the season where I think it's time to zig when others zag. However, we have the massive issue of Nathan Cleary in our sides to fill. So instead of looking at the who's the most bought, who's the most sold, I want to go through some of the best options when it comes to Cleary. Now, I know a lot of guys have a plethora of jewels available. They can bring in probably almost any position they want to. I want to focus on just the halves and the 5/8 here because I've got about 6 names that we can go over. We can spend a couple of minutes on talking about each of them, and so we can sort of rank them as to where we think the best replacement is, or if you use another strategy. At halfback, I know he's had a lean couple of weeks, but he still possesses a 63 3-round average, and that includes 2 poor weeks, 6% ownership, and an elite run home. I still think the number one replacement is Daly Cherry Evans. I know that Jerome Hughes is being mass brought this week, but
I don't know why.
The run home is kind of gross, although he does have a 68.4 average. Like the average is nearly 70, which is nice. Owned by 11.6% of teams already. You can get DCE for similar production for half the ownership.
Look, this week's nice, and I understand winning this week, but the run home is bloody hard. And he's not going to score a try every week. It's just not going to happen. And if he doesn't score a try last week, the guy scores 50. I personally, I'd go, if you're choosing between those two stated players, 100% I'd go DCE. And I own Hughes, so I watch him probably a bit closer than you guys have been.
That brings on sort of the next player in Jerome Hughes. I can see merit behind buying him. If you're a strictly head-to-head player and you've still got 8, 9, 10 trades up your sleeve, yeah, target the guys that get you to win now. And this is why this point of the season is hard, because I'm a predominantly classic player. You're at the moment playing a head-to-head. The audience is going to be listening to, they're going to have split strategies, so we're going to have to tackle this both ways. From an overall point, I would be going DCE. From a head-to-head standpoint, if you have the trades, I can get behind the Jerome Hughes move, but it's not the long-term play for me.
Oh, look, if you've got trades in hand, if you win this week, you can not trade next week, which means that, you don't need a trade until the semis. So if you do have, say, 4 or 5 trades left, then yes, it's a good move this week, because if you go through, you save 2 next week, and then, it doesn't really matter after that. You could trade him back out if you wanted to, if the run at that time's no good. So from a head-to-head perspective, yes, totally get it.
We should just caveat, the number one option is to move Nico Hines up. That's by far and away the first option for me. Trade Cleary out, Hines up, and then you bring a fullback in. That's the...
yeah. I'd rather take a centre or a fullback than a half at the moment.
100%, because there's not a whole lot of excitement. But if you're stuck with, I know some guys that own Moses and Cleary, so you're up shit creek without a paddle there. So you're gonna have to move Hines up and still bring in a halfback. So when it comes to those two, I think they're probably the safest. Then we move on to Adam Reynolds. Now, there's been a lot of hype with Adam Reynolds with a season average of 65.7. I did not see this coming. At the start of the year, you and I both had this, in a better South attack, in a more prolific side, he was a mid-50s kind of guy. We didn't expect to have this 10-point jump, and he's been extraordinary. Owned by 5.4% of teams, what worries me is the run home for the Broncos is not ideal at all.
Looks harder than it is. My concern is that the Broncos didn't look that good last week. Maybe it was just a little bump in the road, but they didn't look crash hot for me last week. So I'd want to see how they go this week against the Chookies, because I think they'll be ready for that.
Are you putting any stock into no Carrigan potentially for the next 3 or 4 weeks? That's a big loss.
It's gonna hurt their middle. I'd be happy if I was a Haas owner, because I think Haas will get a 10-minute, bump in his minutes. It'll hurt him in the middle, absolutely, and the Roosters should target that.
No, yeah, definitely. This is my play. Now, this is a strictly head-to-head play. It's a pod matchup. 76 5-round average, 6% owned. The side that he's in is starting to look really, really good. They're starting to click. He's got the Broncos, the Cowboys, the Tigers, Melbourne, who have been leaking points galore, and South, who could be resting half their team in round 25.
Sam Walker.
It's your boy, Sam Skywalker.
Yeah, I sold Skywalker right when this happened too. I owned him all season long. I switched him to Jerome, and he's kind of kicked me in the nards since then. But no, he's going well, and he looks good. Ever since they put the number 7 on his back instead of the 6, he has more control. He's playing quite confident. I think there'll be plenty of points in this game against the Broncos too. Typically, no matter where we are on the ladder, we generally have high-scoring games, except for that one-time Broncos fans, 59-0. Thank you.
I should have come more prepared. I don't have the stats on me, but just from the eye test, his goal kicking has improved immensely. He was dreadful off the tee last year.
75%.
Dreadful last year, and it's improved dramatically. People's like,
and sorry,
you go. No, you go. Anything over 33%, and that's the thing. Like, as a goal kicker in Supercoach, if you kick at 33%, which is shocking, you break even. So anything over 33% is an improvement. If you're kicking at 75, that's a big uptick in your scores. That's an extra 6 to 10 points a game.
He's at 75% now, but over the first 3 weeks, he was probably at 30%. So it has swung a long way. Like, he tends to have one dud kick a game that misses, but the rest of them are pretty much on the money. 75% kicking, you'll take 3 out of 4 goal kicks.
Yeah, 100%. So I guess out of these pure halfbacks, I know the chat are asking a lot about 5'8". They're asking a lot about centre wings. We will get to those. Just strictly halfbacks, rank DCE, Hughes, Reynolds, and Walker. One for head-to-head and then for overall.
Oh, fuck.
For me, head-to-head. For me, overall, it's still DC number 1. I think
DC
with the run
is my
home,
1.
Then head-to-head, I would probably still have DC number 1, to be honest.
Yeah, DC is 1 for both of mine. I just think that he's that kind of player. Like, he loves pulling out a 40-20. If they score points, he's going to have an involvement in it. If Garrett gets the slightest, pinky tweak, he's going to goal kick potentially as well. So there's a lot of pluses there. Gets his man
Olakwatu back as well this week. Didn't play last week. The week before was busted, with his ankle, so the ball did not go that way at all. I'm really keen to see Hamel back as a DC owner myself. So just keen for that. I would then probably rank, from a head-to-head standpoint, I would probably rank Hughes above Walker, but then I would probably flip them when it comes to overall, and I would have Reynolds at the bottom of those.
I'm going to put, and this is non-Roosters bias, I'm going to put Walker ahead of Hughes purely because the last 4 weeks for Melbourne are seriously bloody hard.
Yeah, sorry, just
really hard.
In a head-to-head standpoint, if you had to pick a halfback this week, are you picking Hughes or Walker?
Look, I'll say Hughes because it's the Titans, but at the same time, Walker could score a ton against the Broncos too.
100%. That's sort of my thinking too. Let's move on to halfbacks. I just want to reiterate that Brew and our stance is Hines up to halfback is by far the way the best choice because it's not that ideal halfback this year. 5'8", Munster, for me, it's still a clear number 1. People are still buying him, and for good reason. I know that he hasn't been electric, but he's still been the best 5'8" in my opinion. He's kind of fixture proof as well.
Absolutely. Because he's got a really high base, and he normally gets, even if Melbourne have bad games, he normally gets an LBA or a line break himself. Like, he gets something that just puts him in decent enough areas. And then, I didn't even think of that. There's goal kicking too. Yeah,
which is huge. Like, that's the thing. People are like, oh, Munster's not a great kicker. He only has to kick at 33%. He has to kick 1 out of every 3 goals to break even. Anything above that, he's making points. So Munster goal kicking is going to be ideal. When it comes to Dylan Brown, I'm really, really intrigued by him. Like, I'm really, really keen. But I just want to see a week. I just want to see a week with him without Moses for the whole game. I want to see how he goes. But I'm definitely tempted. The problem is, though, for the last 5 games the Eagles have, four of them are against top 8 teams, and the one team that it's not against is the Bulldogs, who could definitely put up a fight. So they play 4 top 8 teams and the Bulldogs.
Who beat them?
What was that?
Who beat them?
Yeah, definitely. That's what I'm saying. Like it's not the best run home, but Dylan Brown, I think, is just a mini Cam Munster. Like, he doesn't need, the Titans or the Tigers to score well. Like, we saw him score 100 plus against the Storm earlier the year. So fixture wise, I think he is pretty fixture proof. I just don't know. I think Mitch Moses, his ability to steer a team around is quite underappreciated. So I want to see how that goes. If the responsibility does fall on to Jake Arthur, or if Dylan Brown has to step up more and take more of that, leadership role, which is taking away some of the best parts of his game. So I want to see how he goes just for a week. And unfortunately, I don't really have a week to wait. So I'm probably going to have to skip Dylan Brown. But if you had the trades, I'd definitely give him a close watch this week.
At this point in time, there's probably 3 or 4 guys I'd actually take over Dylan Brown. Most
Interesting.
are quite poddish. But I think 5'8's the type of position that, like, Munsters, you must have.
Yep.
And I get that. But if you're going to flex, you should have deep squads by now, which means that you can potentially flex your 5'8 too. You don't have to play him every week. There's probably some other options I'd go down.
There's
before Brown.
There's 2 Cowboys I'm thinking of. Obviously, Scott Drinkwater. Big bounce back game. Big bounce back game
He's
last
one
week.
Of the options.
Skipping further ahead to the show, but hot takes last week. We had him for a 70 plus, and he delivered in spades. However, Tommy Dearden.
You had him 70 plus. I had him 90 plus. Thank you. I'll take that.
I haven't looked too much into Tommy Dearden, but I will quickly pull his stats up. But like, the footy that he's playing this year has just been great, and I think having Chad there next to him has been fantastic. Give me your thoughts on Scott Drinkwater if you don't own him by now, while I pull up Dearden's stats.
Oh, look, I said it last week on the pod that there was this movement to sell this bloke, and I told everyone that you're an absolute madman for doing that. That the run home is golden, and that last time he had that 12, he came out and absolutely brained it for the next month. And I'm not saying he's going to brain it for the next 3 weeks, but he brained it last week. So I 100% support Drinkwater. Pretty much any Cowboys for the run home, I support. Their draw is pretty juicy, and they're just a team that can score a lot of points this year. So, that's always a plus. While you're doing that, if you want some others, there's a couple other sneaky options.
Yeah, I've got a few more. I want to cover Dearden because I think he's a guy that I would love to have to play on matchups, but he's not a guy that I'd love to have playing week in, week out. So round 19 against the Tigers, 79. Round 20 against the Dragons, 70. But then you go back to games against the Broncos, Manly, Panthers, Melbourne. Like, he didn't score above 50 there. And then another 60 against the Tigers, and then sort of teed off earlier this year. He's a guy that I would play based off matchups, and looking at that, there's probably only 2 matchups I would play him in round 21 and 23. So if you have a deep enough squad to cover that rotation, then Tom Dearden could be your guy. However, he's not my number one option. Not my number one option either, but a guy that I am seriously looking at, and I know that he flopped last week, and a lot of people are upset, and they rage trading him, but it's Matt Burton. Like, for me, I know
one of mine.
I know that he wasn't good last week, but Karaz was the star of the show. The edge defense for the Knights was shocking. Karaz just absolutely brutalized them, and Burton didn't need to get involved as much as he had been. However, I do think he is great. He's got that huge ceiling. Doesn't have an ideal draw, but with goal kicking, the number one creative player, I think there's a decent floor there for Matt Burton.
I'm not even too worried about the draw at the moment, the way the Dogs are playing. Everyone looks hard, to be honest. Like, when you're the Bulldogs, every match is hard, but they're turning up every week, scoring 24 to 34 points week in, week out at the moment since, Mick Potter took over. So I'm not even looking at the draw when it comes to them. I'm just backing the fact that they're playing inspired footy. They're throwing the ball around. Someone's going to be a benefactor of that. Like, we obviously know that Addo Carr's going to, get a double every week because they chip it to him. And that seems to be something that the teams just aren't cluing onto. And normally Burton's the guy involved in that stuff. So I'm 100% behind Burton pick.
But my number one pick, trying not to be biased, but it's my boy Adam Doueihi, baby. Whoa.
All right. He was on my list too. I just full Glenn quagmired for anyone that can't physically see the video. He's my guy, to be honest. And especially now with the injuries, it's going to be even more so on him. Good goal kicker. The bloke's, I'm impressed, to be honest. I didn't think he'd be this good. And again, like the last couple of weeks, to beat the Broncos, you're talking about top 6, top 8 side. That's a big win for them. They should have beat the team they're coming in second the week before. And I won't have anyone argue that fact. That was a Tigers victory. So, that's 2 big wins, which gives me a little bit of confidence that maybe they're actually going to compete in matches now. And as long as they're competing, they should be able to score some points. So,
but yeah,
I'm very pro Adam Doueihi.
Brooks out, Hastings out. He's back. He's taken to footy like a duck to water from his injury. Everything's going through him. He's looking great. Jock Madden's there, young, inexperienced half that's going to need some guidance. Adam Doueihi is that guy. He is an absolute ball hog. He loves a run for himself. He will rack up, Cam Munster-esque levels of base, not quite as high, but still a good floor. And they have a somewhat decent draw to run home. I'm trying not to be biased here, but he does have a handy duel as well with 5'8" and centre wing. So if you need to move some guys around, it can definitely work. Adam Doueihi is my number one option in the 5'8" slot. Adam Doueihi versus Daly Cherry Evans. If you had to pick a half rather than a centre or a second row or a hooker, where are you leaning towards there?
Look, DCE is safe. Doueihi's bold. I guess it depends where you're at.
Yeah,
I don't want to tell people which way to go. Like, if I was in your spot, I'd probably go DCE. But when I'm in my spot, if I had a trade left, I'd go Adam Doueihi. So it just depends. You got to play the game. You got to play your game based on where you're at and what you need to do to make up ground. So make the choice. They're both very solid picks. You left one guy out that I reckon's a real smoky, and again, it's a guy that I wouldn't be wanting to play every single week. It's actually Matt Moylan.
Ooh, spicy.
They're playing good footy at the moment. Like, I know they didn't get it done in the second half against the Panthers, but they sure got it done in the first half, and they showed that they could take it to Penrith. And then last week they were real good again. They got this great draw home, like really top shelf draw home, and Fitzy's just got them going in the right direction. And we saw Moylan do it last time they had a bit of a skinny run where he just kept scoring tries every week, and everyone was like, "Oh, he won't keep it up." Well, he's kept it up for most of the season now. So, and he hasn't gone down injured, and touch wood that he doesn't.
I don't know much
I don't hate it.
I don't know much about this Dykes at fullback, but it just looks like Matt Moylan's playing deeper and deeper in set pieces every week. Like Hines will take it to the line and hit out the back, and it looks like Moylan is just so deep in the back line that he could be almost that fullback, almost similar to Jerome Luai for the Penrith Panthers when they go left. Not so much your traditional 6 like a Kieran Foran, but more of that sweeping number 6, similar to like Luai, like I said. So the injury to Kennedy could be a huge shout for Matt Moylan. Definitely a guy you'd play on matchups, but yeah, we know that the Sharks have a really good run home, and that could be a huge pod move. I'd be surprised if he's owned by more than 1% of teams right now. So yeah, that could be a massive play for Moyser there with the Sharkies.
If Dykes is who I think he is very, very young, and he's a goal-kicking fullback for plays in Ron Massey, I think it is. If he's supposed to be a whiz kid, if it's the kid I'm thinking about for Cronulla.
Interesting. Time will tell. A couple other ones. I didn't want to go too much in detail with other positions. Like I didn't want to give 4 or 5 names. I wanted to give sort of the best ones off the top of my head. Is Joe Tarpany worth it? $700K, a lot of money to spend, but man, he's playing probably.
The Duke bangs out. Like the Duke got sin bin last week.
120.
Like, fuck, man, it's like it's not a gimmick anymore. It's just what the dude does.
Mate, I say it every week.
Ricky's finally clued on that. I could never understand why Tarpany was getting 35 to 42 minutes. Now that the bloke's not getting that, and he's getting actual, top tier forward minutes, he's killing it. He's easily the best front row forward this year. If you've got to pay $700K to get him, just get him.
I say this all the time, but like round 13, heading into round 13, I needed a front row forward. And I'm like, I'll just pick up someone for a couple of weeks. And I picked up Tarpany. And this was like before he went on this like amazing. It was like a 62-point average kind of guy. And I picked him up. I'm like, he'll cover me for 2 or 3 weeks. And I'll move him on to like, I know someone else. And man, like I've just been blown away. Like he's just been absolutely sensational. He got a try last week.
You've been kissed on the dick so many times this year. I swear to God, you did the same thing for Elliott with your boost for Elliott. I'll just get him. He'll make some cash. And now he's starting lock every week and killing it. You've had it with a few guys.
Yeah, you talked me into Butcher. Remember when Butcher went on that like 4-week run where he's like scored like 80, 75, 80?
Just how it goes sometimes.
Yeah, it is. But I also captained Pappenhausen for his fuck all like Captain Cleary last week. So it comes in swings and roundabouts. But yeah, Joe Tarpany is just like offloading king. I think he had like 15 tackle busts last week. Like he's just a weapon. Got Simbin, still scored 100 plus. And he is ball playing a little bit as well. So like it's good because he's like, the way I've looked at Canberra is like Papali will take the first hit up. Elliott might take the second hit up. Tarpany might be a link man for the third tackle, or it might be the other way around. Like, you know, he might be a link man for the second tackle, but he like will take the next hit up. He'll go to the play the ball. He'll take the next hit up. So just because he touches the ball in the set, it's not just because he touches the ball and moves it on, it's not a bad thing because he's right there for the next hit up. And who knows, on the tackle beforehand, he could have picked up an attacking play. Like he's got a few line break assists this year, a few line breaks for himself. He's always looking to get that hand free for the offload. So 700k, it's a lot of money to spend, but yeah, he is shitting out points for fun. And if you have the jewels to move around, I would much prefer him over sort of any forward, exception of one person maybe, and we'll touch on that soon. As a Latrell Mitchell in general, would you be concerned about his low score last week? Because I was very happy to death ride him for the first 2 weeks. I expected him to score a shit ton of points. Last week was what I sort of expected from him moving forward because of, you know, just Latrell. If South don't score, Latrell can't goal kick, and, you know, he had a really, really junk time try that still, he still scored mid-50s.
Oh, that's Latrell. You know, they're South, I guess he's a little bit like Cody. They're flat track bullies. If they're not scoring the points, he's probably not going to score too much. You know, he either needs that assist or the try or the goal kicking. And if he's not getting those things, then, you know, he's not gonna score through the ceiling because we know he hasn't got the work rate. Yeah,
no, definitely. I wouldn't be looking to sell him, obviously, but yeah, just monitor him and monitor South. Hopefully, they can come in with a wet sale if you're an owner. Speaking of Souths. I don't want to say it because I'm Harry Grant's #1 fan, but is Damien Cook the best hooker for the run home? Because every week I feel like I'm sitting here on this podcast being like, you know, Harry Grant, he's just going to explode. It's going to come together. He's finally going to put it together.
And every week I tell you that he's not.
And yeah, but Damien Cook is he's boring. But he's 65 boring.
Yeah. Oh, he probably is. Although if Cameron McInnes... Finucane. Can Finucane stay out a bit longer?
Yeah,
if
please.
Finucane stays out a bit longer, it's McInnes because McInnes with big minutes just eats base for breakfast.
Yep.
It's probably Cook, man.
Which is annoying because we know like Grant can just he can score 130 this weekend. Like he just can. Like I don't think Cook can, but that's the problem. Like we're
probably will this week, but
are we holding on to this? Like, are we holding on to this vivid dream that just won't come back? Because even though they won last week, Melbourne did not look overly great.
I just want him to get cheap
for next year. Okay, a couple more before we'll take a short break. What do we do with Tago and Talon May now that both the halves are out? Are they sells? Or they play on matchups? Or they vanish to the NPRs forever?
Look, Tago seems to have found his own role within that team.
May's floundering a little bit.
He links very well with kick out too. I wouldn't be surprised if Tago's good enough to hold.
Is he good enough play? Is he good enough play though? Is he good enough play?
I'll be playing him every week.
But as for Talon May, he's floundering a little bit. Base has gone down. Attacks
I'm not sure. I'm not sure he's going to... Well, I think it's partially because of Toto, to be honest with you. You know, there's not as many hit-ups to take when Toto's taking every second one.
That's
so, and, you know, for May, he needs that link between Kickow and Tago to go one further. And sometimes it doesn't need to go one further because Tago's straight through. So I'd sell May. I think May's a sell. I'd keep holding on Tago, maybe have a look for another couple of weeks, see how they go, obviously without their two studs. But I'm pretty sure Tago went quite well when they were out over the Origin period. So maybe just have a look for Tago.
Minus 13 break even, 700k, 110 3-round average, 98 5-round average. Is Jeremiah Nanai, is he now a must-have?
Oh, look.
Australian back rower. I'm calling it now.
I'll say he's a must-have, and next week he'll get 30. So I'm not going to use the term must-have, but
All right.
going pretty bloody good. And I
let-
did say you want to own some Cowboys. So
Let me put this to you. If you had to buy a back rower right now, a premium back rower that wasn't Hamaola Kawatu, are you buying Sean Lane are you buying Sean Lane on Dylan Brown's edge, or are you buying Jeremiah Nanai with the try scoring upside that he possesses? And to be fair, Sean Lane does have that upside as well.
yeah, I'm buying Jeremiah Nanai, even if there's a tree at 5'8" over Sean Lane.
Yeah, I shouldn't have asked you because I know you got the old Sean Lane agenda. But yeah, that's going to be kind of all the strategy stuff out of the way. We're going to take a quick break. We're going to come back and we're going to have our best captain options this week because I think they're pretty crucial this week, especially with head-to-head. Every point's vital. We're going to have our hot takes from this week, who we think is going to go well. I've got a sneaky non-Supercoach one that I might be chucking a few Benjamins on, Brew, this week on the old bookmaker website. So there's an NRL game I'd like to put a bet on. And we've also got our trade talks for the week where Brew and I will reveal sort of what we're doing and where we're sitting at this week. Because Cleary has thrown a spanner into the works. So sit tight, hang 10, not even hang 10, hang about 2 minutes, and we will be right back. All right, we are back in the poll, Brew. In the break, I ran a quick poll on YouTube and it's still going right now. So make sure you vote on that one. I put, who is the better buy, Tarpany or Nanai? 71% of the vote has gone to Joe Tarpany, despite Nanai's incredible upside.
I just voted.
Very, very interesting stuff there. I think people are just banking on those points, but Tarpany still possesses that immense upside as well. But yeah, overall, I think it's really interesting this time of the season. Just with head to head, people playing differently, and the chat's popping off as well, which is what we always like to see. They shout out to everyone in the chat, asking each other questions and stuff. Sometimes Brew and I can't answer them all whilst we're midstream. So yeah, awesome to see you guys continuing on. Best captains and vice captains options this week.
Good afternoon. This is your captain speaking.
I always forget I have a soundboard that I need to use more often. It's the Roosters' first game of the round. Tempting. First game of the round last week as well. Didn't do too well for Teddy, but for Mano it went fantastic. And he's becoming harder and harder to turn away. I think he had 400,000 tackle breaks. Don't go look that up. I'm positive it was that many tackle breaks, and yeah, I mean he was just relentless. Teddy, Manu, two very, very good VC options. Where would you lean out of those two?
I'm actually leaning probably Manu.
Bigger upside, hey?
If I have to pick one there. I don't know why it is. Like I thought about it last week, and then I was like, you know what? First week back, I won't do it. And then I kind of wish I had.
Yeah. Would you have looped?
I would have looped it.
Really?
Yeah.
Really?
Like in the position I'm in with my side, like I can take the loop pretty much every week, and I don't feel like I'm going to lose out too much. Like I've been smashed by injury. Basically, I've lost, I think, 5 guys for the season in the last 3 weeks. So, you know, it is what it is. That burns your trades. It's burned all my trades. So, you know, no trade talk for me. So,
interesting.
You know, if I get a good one, I'm just going to take it.
Yeah, that's
plus for me.
That's fair. Hey, what are your thoughts on Munster as a VC this week against Titans? Because
look, man, it's actually what I'm debating. I'm debating whether I skip the Chooks game. I don't have a great history with Thursday nights when it comes to the VC. I don't mind that 6 o'clock time slot, and obviously it's the Titans. And I'm just thinking, if I went the VC on money, I could captain Hines against the Dragons is an option for me. Otherwise, the option is I basically captain Munster and then VC one of the Chooks. That's the 2 directions basically for me that I'll go.
Well, that was the next man on my list. Hines for me is I'm not going to say the best captain option, but the most obvious captain option, isn't he?
Yeah, my only worry is that, you know, it's a local derby. I think the Dragons will be a bit more up for it. Last time we saw them up for a game, they played pretty damn well. It is at the Sharks' home ground. 7:30's decent time slot for them, I think. It's tricky this week because the game that follows that, if I had someone, I'd probably go there.
I'm tempted to take a massive swing on captaincy this week. You got Drinkwater, Valentine Holmes, similar to Teddy and Manu. Where are you leaning with the Val and Drinky debate?
Look, it was Drinkwater's week last week, so I'm going to go Val this week.
Val still, I think, just quietly had an 80+, 90+ game as well, so he just quietly went about his work as well. I'll tell you what, Adam Doueihi against the Knights could be a shout.
You'd have big balls. You'd have grapefruits for sure, but it is the Knights, man.
Imagine that. Imagine like 6 weeks ago, we're sitting here saying, you know, captain Tigers player.
What year is it? Yeah. Seriously, it's an option.
Yeah.
I guess it's just how big are your balls.
Yeah, definitely. Hot takes. Last week, I had Grant, Munster, and Hughes to combine for 300. Not quite. Not quite. Didn't tear the Warriors apart that much. I had Drinkwater 70+. That was a big tick. I had Big Angus Crichton 80+, and that definitely did not hit because boy howdy, he sucked last week.
Yes, indeed.
Do you have last week's on you, or have you forgotten them? I know you had Drinkwater 90+.
Yeah, I had that one. No, I've forgotten them, man.
Bless. Well, this week, Penrith back-to-back losses. Not a Supercoach related one, but this is the one that I might whack a pineapple or two on, because I think the Raiders are underdogs. I think they're $2.30 on Sportsbet at time of recording. The Raiders could.
Where's it at?
It's at GAO, so in Raiderland.
If I was tipping, I would tip Canberra.
Oh, spicy! I've also got Cameron Munster as the highest scoring player this week in all of Supercoach.
That'd be nice.
Oh boy, wouldn't
it? But it would be lovely. I hope you're right.
And
what else you got? Yep.
Adam, what's doing Doueihi? Back-to-back 100-point affairs for the big man.
We really need to discuss these.
We
first.
do. We're 21 rounds in. I think I've sharked probably I've sharked one of yours at least.
I had Munster going 100+.
So I sharked
Doueihi
two
going
of yours.
100+. I had James Tedesco going 100+. So you didn't say the Teddy one, but you've pretty much alluded to Munster getting triple figures, and you definitely alluded to Adam Doueihi. Here's one. Don't worry about those ones. Here's a spicy one for you.
Oh.
I got the Bulldogs beating the Cowboys this week.
Who's at home?
It's at Salter Oval. I don't know where that is.
Where the fuck is Salter Oval?
No idea.
Anyone in the
I
chat?
don't care where it is.
Anyone in the chat? Tell me where Salter Oval is. That's spicy. What is your reasoning behind the Doggies getting the job done over the Cowboys?
Just the spirit, I guess, that the Dogs are showing lately. I just feel like the way that the Cowboys fell out of that Tigers game, if they do that against the Dogs will punish them a little bit more. And even last week, the Dragons, it was, I can't remember exactly. It was like 14 all or 14-12, like pretty much going into half time. So they were in that contest for quite a while there.
It's in Bundaberg, apparently.
Just a gut call. Like, I'm not saying Dogs win 13 plus. I still think there'll be points in the game, but I can honestly see a 24-18 or a 26-18 type win.
Matt Burton
to the
masterclass.
Dogs is a big shocker. It could be, man.
Yeah, so it's in Bundaberg. So the lovely chat are telling me, hey, one fixture I totally looked over. Latrell Mitchell could score 250 points this weekend against the Warriors.
Yeah.
Yeah. I hate to say because I'm not an owner. I've been death riding here, but he could just rip them apart.
He certainly could.
It's going to be really tough as well. Like, if you still own Cody Walker, hats off to you. I couldn't do it. But, like, it's going to be hard. Like, because if you own Cody Walker, prime captaincy game, but then you got Munster against the Titans, which is not... Like, it sort of cock blocks you both ways.
It's a really loaded weekend for options when you look at it.
Someone just mentioned in the chat...
Really loaded.
How do you feel? And this is a huge punt. David Nofaluma as a buy.
How much is David Nofaluma right now?
Oh, good question. All right, let's get this up. But first game in the Storm, we know he used to be a base stat monster back in like 2004, whenever the last time he was good. Like in the Bellamy system, we know that their base stat numbers for centre wings aren't fantastic, but they haven't had a
Nofaluma play fullback this week.
Oh, please no. That'd be dreadful. David Nofaluma.
Who knows?
David Nofaluma is sitting at a lovely price of 489k with a season average of 55 in an absolutely dreadful Tiger side.
I'd do that.
Yeah, actually, I would too. Like, if you're like,
if you got trades left, like 480 at the moment for a center's cheapest piss, like you're paying 600-700 for the good ones now. So, you got a guy like Nofaluma who's always played, for a bum ass club, and shout out to Pat McAfee for that term. Playing for the Melbourne Storm, like he could get on the back of some nice set moves, could get some tries. If Bellamy gets out the cow prod, might get his work rate up. I don't mind it.
Yeah, they haven't had a guy like him since like Vunivalu, off the top of my head, like just a big, strong winger.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to report a trade.
I'm tempted to buy him. I'm not tempted to buy him. I'm definitely buying him. But I'm tempted to captain. Adam, baby Doueihi. He's in for Nathan Cleary, obviously. I think the way it works.
You're doing it.
Yeah, I'm doing it. I mean, no one else excites me. I can buy any fullback, any centre wing, or any halfback. And like, I don't want Latrell.
I've been watching Doueihi with keen eyes. Do you remember that that draft league we did?
Many moons ago, yeah.
At the start of the season, yeah, and I drafted all the blokes that were injured.
Oh, that's right, yeah. So you finally got Doueihi back.
Yeah, and I think I started this. Like, how many rounds in were we? I don't know. I think I started the season 0-14 or something like that because I had Sevo and Doueihi and Latrell and. Oh, fuck, I don't even remember who else. But I had all those injured blokes just sitting there on my bench, just waiting, hoping I could get... It's a dynasty too. I should probably say that. It is a dynasty league. So, it's a long-term game.
Yeah.
I think I've won the last 3 in a row and I've got massive scores.
How good. Yeah, I'm definitely looking at buying Adam Doueihi, or I'd buy Latrell this week and just straight captain him this week. But then, like, moving forward, it's not ideal. But like Latrell for me could go off, and like I could look at buying Latrell. I could look at buying Adam Doueihi. They're the only two I really like. Valentine Holmes.
I don't think I'd do that this week, to be honest.
Val's looking good.
I think that's a bit short-sighted, Josh. I don't know if I'd do that one, man.
Like the 1 week play on Trell.
Yeah, like we've spoken about it since. Like,
I know, but it's just like he could
year.
literally score 500 points as captain this week, and that's probably a bit too much. But I wouldn't be surprised if by the end of the game week we're sitting here going, "Oh well, if you captain Latrell Mitchell, he scored you 370 points." Like that wouldn't shock me.
Look, I'll take you. All right, he'll go under 100. You can take the 100 plus. He'll go under 100.
Sure, whatever. I'll take it. All right, let's have a look because I haven't actually had a look at their draw for a while. I know that they finished very poor. So they have the Panthers, not Panthers. They've got the Warriors this week. Then they've got Parramatta, Penrith, Cowboys, and Roosters. I'm gonna have to go look at points against fullbacks against those sides. But at the moment, I am leaning towards Adam Doueihi, and I could captain him. It'd be him or Hines that I would consider captaining.
I'm not telling you what to do because you're ranked 237 and I'm not.
But basically, what would happen is Cleary's out, Hines goes up, and then I would just shift Manu to fullback and buy a centre wing, or I'd have the fullback spot open and buy Latrell if I went that way. But I don't know. This is the problem with doing these on a Tuesday. My mind is still racing. My initial thought was Doueihi, and then I realised that Latrell plays the Warriors, and maybe I'm just looking at it as a 1 week play, which is not ideal considering I'm only going to have one trade left after this week.
Oh, look, I think the way things have turned out, their draw's probably not as bad now than what it was at the time. Like, the Panthers won't be as hard for them now. The Chooks aren't top 4 side that we thought they were going to be.
Nor will the Eels. Like, the Eels without Moses, I think it's a...
Eels are hot and cold. Cowboys, are very good, but they can have the bad games where they get some points put on them. So it might not be a horrible idea.
I'm gonna put a poll up and see what the chat thinks. That's never a good thing to sway my mind. And then we'll take some questions. Better buy Trell, Doueihi. There we go. And then we'll answer some questions and I think we'll wrap it up. But I'm no idea with trades this week. Plenty of people are asking on Dearden. Go back 25 minutes on this podcast and you'll hear our thoughts on Dearden. Someone in the chat makes a really good point, Brew. Talon made a David Nofaluma cost you $25,000.
Why not?
Is it sideways though? Or is it not, considering the Panthers halves are now out?
They've literally got no halves for the rest of the season.
Yeah.
Like, you're talking about a bye round half combination. So why not?
How many points ahead are Penrith right now on the ladder? Because I know they lost last week.
6.
They're still 6 because the Cowboys lost. No, the Cowboys won.
They were 8 ahead. They should have been 10 ahead.
Oh, they're still 6. Okay.
But now it would be 6.
I was going to say, do you think, is there any way in the world that they'd lose the minor premiership? Could they just implode with 5 weeks to go?
It'd be one hell of an implosion. It's possible, but I don't think it'll happen.
Because
you're also asking another team basically to win every week.
That's true. I mean, the Cowboys could do it. Storm could do it, but I don't know. Someone said basically...
Storm can't do it.
Oh, they can't do it? Okay. Basically, Cleary isn't a must-sell this week. His price won't go down. I think
no, but it's $1 million.
It is, but is it like, if you don't need to make the trade, do you wait until a better option comes in? Would you rather make a trade now that you don't love, or make a trade in a week or two that you do love?
Depends if you're a head-to-head player or an overall player.
Yeah, true.
If you're a head-to-head player, you have to sell him.
Would you guys
need the best possible, 17 on the park, and $1 million is going to give you the option to pick the best player that you don't own.
Would you guys trade Tago to McInnes and then Cleary to Trell? I want Latrell really bad this week. That one comes from Jacko Hook.
I probably wouldn't, because McInnes will go back to 50 points next week when Finucane comes back. So in a different combination, maybe, but not with McInnes in it.
Yeah, there's no upside there. At the moment, it's split. So we've got 32 votes on the poll right now, 56% with Trell, 44% with Adam Doueihi. So I think the chat are just as divisive as what I am right now. To'o over May, if it means getting Doueihi and Tarpany. I don't know what that means.
Uh-oh.
Over May, if it means getting Doueihi and Tarpany. I mean, sure, that sounds awesome.
I think what he's asking is, does he sell To'o over May if it means...
right. Yes.
Look, yeah. For Tarpany, yes. For Doueihi, I'm on the fence.
No, but
with To'o, but not with
it means
May.
getting Doueihi and Tarpany, not or.
Then yeah.
Yeah, he can sell To'o and get both those guys in.
Yep. Then yes, I would do that.
Best reserve option: Jason Tamalolo, Tom Dearden, or Matt Burton. Burton for the upside for me. Dearden
ceiling.
Dearden's kind of Tamalolo.
Lolo's a good move too, but you're gonna have to factor in. You've also got welcome back
Would we
this week, so
would we
it might impact his minutes again.
Yeah, definitely. Would we use our last 2 trades on Cleary to Fogarty/Hughes and May to Doueihi? So basically,
They lost me when they said Fogarty.
No, so Cleary, so Fogarty slash Hughes, so he can go Cleary to Hughes and then May to Doueihi. To be fair, though, the Raiders do have a good run home. However, I don't know if Jamal Fogarty is the kind of guy that's going to be able to capitalise on that.
Yeah, I'm not going Fogarty, so I'm not even going to give that one some thought.
Cleary and May to Manu and enough. At this stage, Joey Manu, like it's a huge price tag. Is he worth getting? I know that the debate 2 weeks ago was like, 800k for a centre is a lot of money. But what do you think?
Why does he need enough?
Cleary and May.
What did Cleary drop?
Cleary's 690 and Manu's like 840, my dude.
Jesus.
Yeah, Manu ain't cheap.
No, I was talking about Cleary.
Oh yeah,
Did he lose last week?
Yeah. So that's what someone said in the chat as well. Like they said, Brew, just letting you know, Cleary's 690, so it's not that much money tied up on the bench. So yeah, he's dropped a lot of cash.
Bloody hell! Last time I looked at him, he was 800k. See, that goes like I don't look at his price. His price has always been irrelevant to me because he was just a guy.
The most expensive play. You sell it, and you can buy anyone.
Not leaving. So I literally did not notice that his price had declined like that. Wowza. Okay.
So do you think? So yeah, obviously Cleary and May to Manu enough. Depending on your squad depth, if you're playing 17 isn't taking a hit from there, then yeah, I don't mind that. Manu is a guy that you really want to have.
Depends how many players you got, good players. Because like I've lost 5 guys, I think I said, and I think it's 7 over the last 4 or 5 weeks. So it can go wrong in a hurry. So just pick your moment before you do go the nuff.
Do you think it's okay buying Mam back for Cleary and just playing based off matchups? He's dual, and if any of the gun halves get injured, you can just move him around.
No. To be honest, no. I don't see the upside. Like the dude scores 50 every week, basically somewhere between 40 and 55 points, and quite often lately it's with a try that he's getting the 50.
If we woke up tomorrow and Adam Reynolds out for the season, my answer would be yes, but right now, no.
Yeah, I wouldn't do it. I would, like, if I'm going to do it, I'd go someone else.
All right,
or go someone cheaper.
We'll do 3 more and then we'll wrap up for tonight, guys. The SSSC podcast says Doueihi, Tarpany, or Nanai this week. I would take this.
Order would be Tarpany, Nanai, then Doueihi would be
No. For me, Dewey's 1 just against the Knights, man. Like I just think he could go off. I would go Doueihi, Tarpany, and then Nanai. Who do we play last reserve? Kickout, Elliott, or Offahan Gowie?
Look, Offa's probably going to get you 55.
Elliott's got a hip concern now, which isn't perfect.
But Kickout without his boys.
Yeah, but without his boys, he's good because they give him ball and he just says, "Fuck it, I'm going to do it all myself."
Yeah, but you never know which week he's going to do it. That's why it's so hard with Kickout. Like I've owned him most of the season. And don't get me wrong, his floor is pretty good. I'm really worried missing both halves, but the safest option is Joe. I think I'd personally play Elliott of the 3, provided he starts. There's no late outs or anything like that.
I think he'll start. His minutes maybe just managed. For me, it'd be kick out Elliott off and go the way you've listed it. We'll answer 1 more and then we'll do a couple of rapid fires and then we'll be done. Cook and Murray or Grant and Nanai? Now, remember that there could be some restings in 25.
Yeah, Grant and Nanai.
Grant and Nanai for me as well. VC, Munster or Grant?
Munster.
Is Tass a play this week against the Warriors?
No.
Any love for Connor Tracy?
No, not high enough base even when he scores tries.
Last reserve, Madison, Appy, or Dylan Brown?
Who the Eels got again?
I don't know. Manly. Dylan Brown. Dylan Brown or Maddo?
Brown or Maddo.
All right, that is going to be us done. I've kept Brew up long enough. His eyes are now starting to fall out of the back of his head. I have been the SC Whisperer, coach of the Ramsey Resurgence, ranked 237th. I've seen red arrows for 4 weeks in a row, my man. This is not good. We need to turn this ship around. Also, I just want to say fuck head to head. in the Whisperer's $50 cash comp, I am coming first by miles, by like 300 points. I came 10th in head-to-head, missed the finals.
Yeah. It's always the same story. It's just crazy head-to-head. Like, you need to just be a head-to-head player and not give a shit about your rank at all and just play the matchups. Overall, they should be two different games.
The Podmasters league, it shows you how competitive it is. I'm coming 230th, like I said, and I missed the final. I missed the top 8 because I had a head-to-head record of 10-10, and I had like the third highest points scored. So I just came up against people on their really good weeks and just lost my matchups. But that is my little rant on head-to-head done. I'm the SC Whisperer, coach of the Ramsey Resurgence, as always, joined by Brew SC, coach of the Brew World Order. My friend, I will see you back here next Tuesday. As I announced on Twitter, there'll be no more Sunday streams because FPL is back. Fun times. If you like your FPL, Aman from Aman Talks FPL and I have released our very first podcast. It's called the Hits, Chips and Enablers podcast. Search it up on all your podcasting platforms if you want to hear me and Aman talk about why Mo Salah needs to be in your side.
And is.
My man, I'll